Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Barakahakudash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Isaiah chapter 29, verses 20 to 21. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. And that terrible one that is going to be brought to naught is speaking of the biblical Edomites, or these so-called white people, and they're spiritually being brought to naught right now by the words of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi being preached by his prophets out on the highways and byways, as well as putting up video epistles on the internet, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS, being the spiritual prosecution team, bringing up charges on these Edomites, showing the world through the scriptures that they are the wicked and the devil and Satan that the Bible speaks of, and all the iniquity they've committed on this planet, and that a recompense is coming. And then the judge is going to enact their judgment in the physical when Yahawashi Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, makes his second coming and ends Esau and these other heathens' rulership, saves the elect of the nation of Israel, and sets up the kingdom of heaven where these heathens are going to be our slaves. And the elites of these Edomites, such as the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, Gettys, Massimos, Merovingians, you name it, understand the power of the scriptures and the power of the prophets prophesying out there. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And this gospel truly has been preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, chiefly through the unicorn or the internet, spreading this message from one end of the earth unto the other. And you've got many brothers speaking in different languages, some brothers even doing videos in sign language. And then you've got the hopeful elect who receive these videos across the planet, taking the videos and then putting subtitles over them in their native tongue, so others of the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel can hear the gospel. So as it said, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. By the prophets simply preaching the words of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi, we're bringing about the end of this age of the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And again, the elites of the Edomites understand that. So that's why it says in Revelation chapter 12, verse 12, that devil is about to come down in great wrath because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And one of the main things he's going to do is demonize this word and demonize the men of the Lord and do whatever he can to take this word off the internet and the men of the Lord off the highways and byways. As it said, that make a man an offender for a word and lay a snare or a trap for him that reproveth in the gate. And I opened up the video with these precepts to profile two clips from the Young Turks dealing with Kanye West and his recent interview on Tucker Carlson. And there's been a lot of controversy that's come from it. On the one hand, you've had people say that he made anti-Sim comments, and so he's been canceled on Twitter. And even JP Morgan and Chase said they're no longer going to do business with him. And he also mentioned in his interview that so-called black people in America were the children of Israel. And while, as it says in the scriptures, that you can do nothing against the word but for it, as it also says in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, speaking of the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, which are these Edomites, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And while Kanye West, along with other celebrities out here that have mentioned that so-called African Americans are the children of Israel, like Ice Cube or Nick Cannon, remember that they're still in that Hollywood system, so they can't be trusted. And ultimately, they get their marching orders from the elites, from the Edomites. So while Kanye West mentioning that so-called black people are Israelites is just going to further get the word out there, best believe that there's an agenda behind it, especially since he went on to Tucker Carlson and said that. And again, look at the fallout that's happened from this. What he said has been considered anti-Sem. And whenever anybody speaks against the 1948ers, the small hats, what always happens, they get demonized and canceled and ostracized from society. Again, in Isaiah chapter 29, verse 21, that make a man an offender for a word. Ultimately, this is the elites further bringing about their demonization campaign to take this word off the internet and take the men of the Lord off the highways and byways. But now let's get into a little bit of these clips. And the first clip from the Young Turks is titled, "The Kanye Interview Clips Even Tucker Carlson Doesn't Want You to See." And I'm only going to play a little bit of each of these clips, but this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this video, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes. And just pay attention to the reaction that the hosts on the Young Turks have and the things they say.
I was biting my tongue on my political opinion because I thought it would be better for my children. And now you look up and my kids are going to a school that teaches black kids a complicated Kwanzaa. I prefer my kids knew Hanukkah than Kwanzaa. At least it will come with some financial engineering.
You just watched a portion of Kanye West's interview with Tucker Carlson that never aired, that Fox News decided to edit out of the final product, and somehow Motherboard over at Vice News was able to obtain that footage along with a lot more footage that we're about to show you. But before we get to that stuff, I'm just gonna go to you immediately, Waz. Like, what is going on?
Kanye is off his meds. There's no other way to put it, right?
Do other people struggling with bipolar disorder immediately say insane anti-Semitic things?
No, I just think Kanye, because he's able to generate money for people still mess.
And of course, anti-Sem is considered anything negative or derogatory towards the 1948ers, the small hats, those Amalekite Edomites, calling themselves Jewish. And it's easy to see how they could label this truth as anti-Sem, which is no such thing as a Sem-ik. There's Shemitic, which is, of course, Shem, who is the father, or the progenitor of Abraham, and then Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Jacob was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. But Shem was also the progenitor of the Elamites, or the so-called East Indians, such as the Iranians, or the Indians. And he was also the progenitor of the Ishmaelites, or the so-called Arabs. And we can clearly see that those 1948ers over in the Holy Land have a hatred and a military campaign towards those Palestinian Arabs over there who are Ishmaelites. Wouldn't that be considered anti-Sem? And we also know the 1948ers are against Iran and constantly fomenting for war against them. Wouldn't that be considered anti-Sem? Of course not, by this society's standards. But if you're talking about the 1948ers, well, then it's a problem. Then you need to get canceled. Then we need to discredit anything you say and make you a social pariah.
That's what I'm like. Other people that might say some messed up things, they just would not be afforded the opportunity to go talk to Tucker Carlson or go to CNBC and talk about how they're going to tank somebody's stock or whatever. It's just that this guy, one, he commands a lot of attention, and two, like I said, he's earned a lot of money for some prominent people. So people still feel a need to be close to him, or else they would have threw this guy in the trash bin with everybody else who said just 10% of the craziest things this guy said. But, he continues to command attention. His sneakers continue to sell out. And people still want to put him on TV. So we got to get up on TYT and talk about how out of his mind he is.
Okay, so let's address the fact that his sneakers still continue to sell out, right? Does that say anything about the country?
No, I think it says something about consumer culture and that it's not binded to any of the stuff that you and I care about, you know, being a good person or whatever. Like, you go look up some of the stuff that, like, a brand like Dolce & Gabbana has done in the past when it comes to racism, sexism, all kinds of messed up stuff, and people still want to deal with them, right? Like, I just don't think consumer culture is too concerned about who's a good person and who's not. People want to be attached to cool. For whatever reason, people still associate Kanye's to enjoy it.
What I think is interesting about what's transpiring with Kanye, I think the statements he's making, okay, I'm just going to be honest. I think tying his very clear anti-Semitic statements to his mental health condition is defamatory to others who also have that mental health condition and don't spout hateful anti-Semitic rhetoric.
Sure.
I think what
Kanye West is mentally ill, and his mental illness, they're saying he's mentally ill, so that's why he made those anti-Sem comments. And also, as we'll see, he talked about so-called black people being the true Hebrew Israelites. But remember, he's mentally ill. Key words out there. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. Don't be surprised when they really start rolling out this demonization campaign against us. They say, oh, we're mentally ill. We're crazy. We need to be locked up in an insane asylum.
Well, I know that bipolar disorder, and not only do I know, Kanye knows, because he himself has said this publicly. When you're not on your meds, you're not getting the treatment you need, you start having paranoid thoughts. And I just find it fascinating.
Paranoid thoughts. Like so-called white people are the devil and Satan in the Bible, and that they're going into slavery, that the God of the Bible hates Edomites or so-called white people, and that he looks down on other nations of people except his own people, that the true children of Israel are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that heathens are going into slavery.
That his paranoid thoughts are deeply anti-Semitic, where he thinks that everything is being controlled by Jewish people. He then goes into like this weird...
Let's go to the scriptures real quick. Have to go to Blue Letter for it. And remember, the Amalekites, who are Edomites, are the 1948ers, the Little Hats, the J-ish people. This is Numbers chapter 24, verse 20. And this was this was Balaam, the Moabite, who was telling Balak, a heathen king, of the future prophecies to take place, dealing with the children of Israel and the establishment of the kingdom of heaven and what would happen to the heathens as well. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 20. And when he looked on Amalek, remember the 1948ers, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, the heathen that would be at the top of the pecking order during this age of the rulership of the heathen nations, and who are known as the people that own everything out here. Hollywood, they're the central bankers. They own a lot of the different resources trades out here, diamonds and stuff like that. The 1948ers. Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. But you say this out loud, and what? It would be considered.
Controlled by Jewish people. He then goes into paranoid thoughts. And I just find it fascinating that his paranoid thoughts are deeply anti-Semitic, where he thinks that everything is being controlled by Jewish people.
Amalek was the first of the nations.
He then goes into like this weird I'm black and I can't be anti-Semitic because all blacks are Jews. I think that's a reference to this weird fringe group.
Yeah.
This weird fringe piracy theory group out there. You know exactly who they're talking about.
It's I think it's a reference to like these Eastern African people who we don't need to get into what he's talking about.
I'm not going to get into it.
What's he talking about? Those Ethiopian Hamites who called themselves one of the children of Israel. But notice in this clip and in the next clip I'm going to play, they get up to the point about talking about the Hebrew Israelites, but then they quickly change the subject. But the point is that they mentioned it regardless, putting it out there. And while mentioning the Hebrew Israelites, at the same time, they're talking about Kanye West, who said it, has mental illnesses, he's bipolar, and his views were anti-Sim.
I don't want to get into.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that either. But I will say this, and I don't think I'm breaking news here on TYT. I think a lot of prominent black people have Jews on them.
And get over it, and that's what you get in this next clip. So let's watch.
You know, I was talking.
Please don't scroll away. This is Reverend Warnock. And in a moment, yes, I'm going to ask you to make a donation.
Nobody wants to hear what you got to say,
Ice Cube today, and we got really beat up in 2020.
Let's say with this clip, I was trying to see if they were going to play when Kanye made his comment about the Hebrew Israelites, but I think that's in the next one. Yeah. Here's the second clip from the Young Turks' YouTube channel. Twitter cancels Kanye West after anti-Sim tweet. And again, this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Twitter has temporarily locked Kanye West out of his own account following his anti-Semitic, not alleged, anti-Semitic and disgusting declaration of war on Jewish people. Now, the tweet in question has been taken down, but as you can imagine, many people have taken screenshots of it before Twitter took it down. So I'm going to read what he wrote verbatim, and then we'll discuss the ramifications of these types of statements. He says, quote, "I'm a bit slippy."
And listen very closely when Anna Kasparian gets to the part where he mentions black people are actually Jew. You'll hear the other commentator, Jink Uygar. I'm not pronouncing his name right, but once Anna gets to this part, you'll hear him scoff like a little when she gets to this part. Now, it could have just been a random occurrence, but again, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. A lot of these media pundits out here are controlled opposition to put a narrative out there and spin it. So psychologically and subconsciously, you could say that when she got to this part where Kanye mentioned black people were Jews, and you heard Jink do a scoff like, that could never be. Hey, that could play with people's minds subconsciously.
Tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, he writes in all caps. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball and be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me.
Impossible that so-called black people are the true Jews.
And tried to blackball anyone who ever.
And it's not just the so-called African Americans, the so-called Negroes that are the children of Israel. The so-called Latinos and Native Americans are also of the 12 tribes as well of the Northern Kingdom.
Opposes your agenda. Okay, but let's keep that tweet up for a second, only because I want to draw attention to just how many people liked that tweet. 31,000 people liked it. They read that and thought, no, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Kanye nailed it.
Yeah. And by the way, it wasn't up that long, so people rushed to like that. And so they'll say, freedom of speech. we're allowed to hate Jewish people. Well, yeah, you are allowed. It's not particularly a great thing to do, though, so not something I'd brag about, but I'm not a right-winger. So.
And what's funny is that this guy right here, Jink, a couple of years ago during Mardi Gras, he had actually walked by the camp while the brothers were prophesying.
So let's break down the tweet first, and then we'll talk about many issues with Kanye West. So it's DEF CON, not Death Con. And for him to...
But he's a genius, Jim.
Yeah, I know. For him to call it DEF CON 3 is both incredibly stupid, which is exactly what Kanye West is. He's a very, very unintelligent person, okay? But it's also...
And don't be surprised when they come with this demonization campaign that they do little nitpicks and ad hominem attacks on us like this. Because some brothers, when they do put the titles for their videos, they may misspell words, or they may say things... incorrectly, so to speak, when they're talking in their videos. And I mean, Death Con and Def Con, that's such an insignificant thing. You ultimately get the point of what Kanye West is trying to say. But as Jink said, just because he said it wrong, he's clearly a moron. He's an idiot, somebody whose opinion you don't have to listen to, which this isn't a pro Kanye West video. I actually never really liked Kanye West. I always found him to be a smug coon. Not taking away that he made some good music, but that's just my opinion. It's neither here nor there.
Oh, way worse. Yep. You put death in there. I'm going to go to war, and we're going to go to DEF CON 3 against Jewish people. There's no subtlety. There's no code words. Hey, listen, schmuck, you're a right-winger now. They use coded language like global elites, okay? That's what your buddy Trump does and Tucker.
The global elites, huh? Like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all that?
Carlson does. Said you just said it like a moron, right? I know you all think it. So then we go to more moronic statements. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also.
Come on, let's first of all, yes, you'll address the whole argument in a second.
Get a different medium.
And that's pretty much it with that clip. And when Anna said, "Oh, you'll break down the whole thing that he said soon enough," you would think that Jink would go into him talking about so-called black people being Jews, but he doesn't. They change the subject and go into something completely different, like that first clip. But the point is that this has been brought out into the mainstream, the airwaves now, that Kanye West made anti-Sim comments, and that he's mentally ill and bipolar, and that he also said so-called black people were the true Jews. Again, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. All the different pieces are being put in place to demonize this word and the men of the Lord, and label us as kooks, sea piracy theorists, mentally insane, bipolar, and all that. This is Amos chapter 8. I'm going to read verses 11 to 13. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, these elites understand the powers of the scriptures and the men of the Lord preaching it and how it's bringing their kingdom to an end. So all of these things are being put in place to demonize the word and take it off the internet, take the men of the Lord off the highways and byways to try to avert prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. But by doing that, you Edomites are fulfilling prophecy. Again, we can do nothing against the word but for it. By demonizing the word and doing your best to get rid of it, the Most High is using you just to bring about the famine of the word. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, though famines of food and drink are coming, but of hearing the words of Yahweh, the famine of the word. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. The men of the Lord no longer on the highways and byways, and our video epistles no longer on the internet. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst, spiritually being thirsty, seeing all these different calamities of Jacob's trouble taking place, and looking for answers, the Most High putting the Spirit on you rebellious and hard-headed Israelites who didn't take heed to the words, of the prophets during this time of liberty, but scoffed at it, to remember that everything you're seeing taking place right now is what those niggers, spics, and tontos in those dresses were saying on the street corners, reading from the Bible. Hey, but for a lot of you, you won't find the word, and that's going to be your judgment. You're going to have to get it how you live for being rebellious and hard-headed and throwing the words of the Most High behind you. Hey, that death by pain, as it says in 2 Esdras chapter 9. Hey, but with the famine of the word also coming, again, hey, the demonization of the men of the Lord themselves is coming as well, where we're going to be seen as public enemy number one out here. Back in Matthew chapter 24, verse 9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. Hey, Revelation chapter 2, verse 10, and the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye shall be tried. When this demonization campaign really ramps up, some brothers will be cast into prisons and other detention centers that they may be tried. Some brothers are even going to be martyrs for this truth. But as it also says in Revelation chapter 2, verse 10, he that endureth to the end shall receive that crown of life. No matter what our lot is in our walk, hey, take it like a good soldier of Yahushai Hamashiach to the bitter end, and you'll be of that elect number and receive that crown. And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. A man being made an offender for the word, being shown as the worst thing going out here, as domestic terrorists, black identity extremists, conspiracy theorists, mentally ill, bipolar, insane. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And your own friends and family members turning against you and turning you into the authorities when your faces are put out there as public enemy number one. And hey, how much more if there's a money reward put on you, and in the midst of famines taking place and people starving, these authorities say, look, we know that you know such and such, and that they're a Hebrew Israelite. Tell us where they are, and we'll give you food and water. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Hey, take all these things, no matter what it is, and you'll receive that crown of life. And I'll close it out with Matthew 24, verse 14 again. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. By simply preaching the words of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai and not taking up arms, we're bringing about the end of Esau Edom's rulership. And that's the power of the words of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, and why they're coming with this demonization campaign to get rid of the word and the men of the Lord. But again, you can't do anything against the truth but for it. Hey, you Edomites coming against us, hey, you're just further fulfilling prophecy and bringing about the downfall of your kingdom and your future slavery. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom. Hey, Shalom Akim. I just wanted to add this little addendum to the end of this video, because I tried looking for Kanye West talking about how so-called black people are the children of Israel in that Tucker Carlson clip, but it wasn't on that Young Turks video that I used. But they do have that part of it on this article from LATimes.com titled, Kanye West spews more anti-Sem conspiracy theories in leaked Tucker Carlson footage. Go down to it right here. And again, this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this video, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics with the KKK, to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of...
And there are no 12 lost tribes of Judah. There is one tribe of Judah, but then the other tribes consist of not only the so-called Negroes, but the Latinos and Native Americans as well, who are of the Northern Kingdom, simply the 12 tribes of Israel.
Christ, who the people known as the race black really are. This is who our people are, the blood of Christ. This, as a Christian, is my belief. And I believe that if we saw ourselves as more...
And brothers have used similar talking points dealing with Margaret Sanger because he wasn't saying anything wrong in this clip. But again, remember, he's been labeled as mentally ill and bipolar and making anti-Sim comments. So anybody having similar viewpoints, hey, they could be seen as mentally ill and incompetent and insane as well. Shalom, Akim.